Okay, my apologies. I have to be honest with you. That was a bug. That wasn't the the crash that I meant to see there. What that was, and I put this in my comments here. For some reason, I wasn't always set an active department. I think I had a look, and when I clicked New, I didn't have it in my code to set the active department going to the employee page. So when we navigate back, this is in the main pages on navigated to, right? I had this bit of code here to once again put the filter back to what it used to be, so that if you were already filtering for a selected department, when we go back to the main page, you can still maintain the filter for the same selected department. So that was the idea of having this there, but I wasn't always setting the active department. When you click New, it didn't do that in code. So depending on when and how you selected New, you might run into that situation. So I just threw this as an if in. There might be a better way to handle this, but this works, right? Just we don't try to set the active department if there isn't one. That way it'll just go back to all departments anyway. Okay? But this way it should preserve, so that if you're editing somebody and you've already filtered just to see marketing, when you're done editing and you go back, you're just still looking at marketing. So it's just a minor thing, but I wanted to be honest about that bug. What I did want to show you is that if... Oh. Okay. It's okay for the recording. Just the students couldn't see anything. That would explain why you were kind of looking at me funny. Let me just show you though that if I go to add, right, these are required fields, these first three. So if I say put something in for the last name, right, lady, but leave the first name and whatever blank, now I will crash, right? Okay, SQL exception, unhandled by user code. So there are several approaches in my lab instructions. I mentioned one you can just quickly look for. There's a whole interface for handling all of these validation error messages, but we can always just do it the old sort of brute force, old-fashioned way as well. So that's the one I'm going to share with you right now. It's in my little file, right? So basically, what we want to do is, instead of just having a save method in our view model, let's make it a try save, right? Where it can check for valid values and then simply kick it back if no, we don't have a valid employee in this case to save, right? And pass even a message along too. So let me just come here. I'm going to grab some code and do a copy replace. The code I'm looking for is in my view model. So let me come to my employee view model, right? I don't need to change the load. That's pretty straightforward. I'm just getting data from the database, so it's got to be valid or it wouldn't be there. It's in my save instead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with a different method, okay? Instead of being a just returning nothing as a void, I'm actually going to return a Boolean, true or false. I'm going to call it try save. I still pass in an employee object, the one I'm trying to save it into, right? And I have an out parameter here, just a string to give all my messages back. So I can list and say, oh, you know, you've violated this, or you violated that, or you're a naughty boy for this reason, or naughty girl for this reason, whatever, right? Okay, so this is the exact same kind of approach we've done before, right back when we learned JavaScript validation in an HTML form, right? We would just sequentially go and check things one at a time, add more and more comments to a string that we would eventually display to the user, listing all the problems on the page at once. Exactly the same kind of an approach, right? So just checking basically for required, right? Null or white space in any first name, last name, or job title. Okay, and then adding more and more messages. Notice I'm just getting the new line character here so that when it displays this as a combined message, it can just break it all out one line at a time. And then, of course, if the data is valid, because it didn't fail any one of those individual ifs or tests, then I still do the exact same code I already had, right? Return true, okay, because now I have to return a value, because it's a Boolean, not a void. And then else just simply return false. So if I return false, then it's up to my code that calls try save to say, okay, there was something wrong. I returned false, so I'll just maybe show a message. where am I going to get the details of the message? Well, right here in my out parameter, right? My str errors. So that's the other change I'll do, is I'll just come back over and oh, don't have it in my little file. Hang on. Okay, so let me come to the code for the save button. So that's the employee detail page, right? So right now I have my save taskbar button, and all it really does is it calls save and then goes on, just assumes it's going to save okay, right? Of course, we could just wrap that in a try catch of some sort and so on as well. There's numerous approaches, but this is an upfront approach that doesn't raise any exceptions and so on. So what I'll do, just for simplicity, I'm just going to replace the whole thing and we'll talk about the difference. This is all the same, except I've got that same misspelling there and an extra dot. Okay, so I just threw it in a if, right? Creating a local string that I can build up my message to display. If it's not successful when I do my try save on my view model, passing in the active employee, grabbing the message coming out, then I'll just use messagebox.show, which is a nice thing that's still available with Silverlight XAML. As you've seen, it's not with the WinRT XAML. But anyway, messagebox show, warning invalid values, and then getting the details of the message here from my str message. Okay. And then, of course, if it is successful in saving, right, then I have the same code I already had. So that's just a quick and easy way to kind of crude but functional way to check for those 3 required values and make sure that they're there. Just to test this out now. Hopefully I didn't introduce new bugs as I was messing around. But I'll click add to add a new employee. Maybe I'll leave both names blank right now. Yeah, we'll go human resources. We started back in 2010, whatever. That doesn't matter. Okay, there we go. First name required, last name required, right? Of course, from here I have the option to just cancel. By the way, with the 3 little buttons here, let me zoom. I meant to show you this earlier. This is just a feature of how the application bar works. Okay, those are my little labels underneath, so if I'm not sure what the buttons do, I can get it that way. And you can add more. You can have additional menu options down beneath and so on as well. It's quite flexible. It's a nice feature because it's always on the screen, unlike buttons that get hidden by the keyboard and so on, right? But see how delete is disabled. But anyway, so now until I satisfy all my validation requirements, once again, now I'm just down to last name required, right? So it builds up the message just quoting what's wrong. If I finally get the last name in, Lasty, I can save changes, and there it is. There's Lasty. Okay, I can go back in and edit. But we have basically a functional system now, right, where we can add, delete, and update records all in the employee table, filter by department, and away we go. So success. Well done.